Greetings, everyone. So I wanted to make this video real quick today. We need to talk about this African bird pepper, this Cayenne tincture that I have on the website. It's probably been about, I think it was back in March. I did a video where I was percolating the powder form. So the powder form, I was making the tincture, so I was actually percolating it. And in the video, I started choking a little bit because of the fumes from the tincture. Well, I've had a few individuals who have went on the website and purchased the tincture. Now, these weren't clients of mine, iridology clients or anything like that. They just went and made the purchase. But they reached back out and, told me that they basically didn't read the instructions and they took dropperfuls, like a dropperful of this cayenne, and for lack of a better word, almost set themselves on fire internally. Now, I'm laughing now. I mean, it's not funny in regards to the fact that they did not, one, read the instruction, and for two, that they, had that experience. However, those that are clients of mine, when I do speak with my iridology clients, and if I am suggesting that they incorporate this tincture into their regimen, we talk very specific about how to take this. So, I get very in-depth and detailed in regards to, how they should gradually incorporate it. Now, me, myself, I've been using it for the better part, almost a year now. And I've gradually, incorporated more drops into 2 ounces of water. So the instructions on the tincture basically tell you, start with like 3 drops in 2 ounces of water. You can gradually add drops, increase the amount of water or decrease the amount of water, however you want to do it. But, start with something comfortable, which is a small amount. And we're talking drops, not droppers, not dropperfuls. So that was the mistake that they made. And, however, they did also say, I think all 3 of them actually mentioned that after they went through what they went through with the heat, they were open. They brought mucus up. That is one thing that the cayenne is good for. So I guess, just to kind of circle back with my own experience with it, once I did my my own iridology reading, and and I knew I had some of these issues in the family genetically. Some of my family members passed away from heart attacks, strokes, and things like that. All of that is a circulatory type of issue. The blood is not circulating. It's not getting to the heart. It's not getting to the brain. It's not flowing as it needs to. So, but once I looked into my own eyes and started, doing the analysis of my own eyes and saw some of the genetic tendencies that I had, and also started experiencing some of that. Now, I'm in my 50s. I just actually turned 54 on the solstice. So in iridology, we also learned that when we have these predispositions, these genetic predispositions, a lot of times they don't start manifesting until we're in our, like in the 40s, 50s. So we may not start experiencing some of these, issues until then. And so for me, maybe the end of last year or beginning of this year, I started to experience just a little numbness on my left side as far as waking up, when I got up every day and I was feeling, the tingling in my feet and maybe in my hands, just a little numbness. And I know that is lack of circulation, what I'm saying? That's lack of blood flow, and if the blood's not flowing from the top to the bottom, we're talking brain to feet, what I'm saying, then it can cause issues. And if it's not flowing, that means that the heart is working extra hard, and, other things are taking place in the body to compensate for the lack of flow, of blood flow. So that was my purpose and one of the reasons for incorporating the cayenne. And I also sourced and found and sought for the most potent variety, which is the African bird pepper. So when I tell you guys, I mean, this tincture is super, super strong. And it's like, when I been on some of my vending events, and I'm literally giving it to individuals and telling them, take 1 drop, what I'm saying? And people are just blown away by, how potent one drop of the tincture really is. So, I spoke with the individuals, those 3 individuals that reached out, and, we talked about it and everything. And, of course, they were, acknowledging the fact that they did not read, how to take the tincture. But I will say, and like I said, over this course of these 9 months, I have, intentionally increased my dosage. So I am now at I'm at between 15 and 20 drops that I take. And I'm good there. I think I'm comfortable there. I have noticed, like I said, I don't wake up with the tingling and all that anymore. My blood flow is better because I can feel it. One thing that happens, like I said, when I first started taking it, the first thing you notice is you're going to feel it. The first place I felt it was of course, your mouth first, and then it moved to my ears. I felt it in my ears. I felt it even in my head. You figure if the blood's not flowing, then I was probably, having, lack of oxygen in the brain. All of this is, of course, relative. So, I felt it in my head, and then I just felt it in my chest. And then I start bringing up mucus that I didn't even know I had in my body. So, that's one thing. It is definitely something good to open up the vessels, to bring mucus up, it thins the blood, you know what I'm saying, to wherein the blood can flow, through the veins a lot smoother and easier. So I'm going to show you guys. This is 2 ounces of water. I have 2 ounces of water here. And like I said, I am at between 15 and 20 drops, excuse me, that I take, multiple times a day. I do it 2 to 3 times a day. So here, I'm going to count for y'all. That was 15, give or take. And I also, and we'll talk about this in a minute, this is lobelia. And I add a few drops of lobelia into this as well, because that is another great herb to incorporate. And I'll get to that in a minute. But I just wanted to show you guys, and I don't have my cap. Well, I'm gonna do this real quick and just remind me not to rub my face. But anyway, so this is, like I said, 15 drops of the cayenne and 3 of the lobelia. And that's what I do every day, at least twice or 3 times. I try to get 3 in, but definitely twice a day. And again, the first thing I notice is in my throat, and then it starts warming you up. It warms you up. I feel it in my chest. I mean, I literally am feeling it as it moves through my body. And that's what it does. I mean, you feel it, clearing you out, opening things up. And that's what the purpose of it is. So to help the blood flow for me. It has so many other properties and everything, but the point is I had to graduate to that. I had to gradually get to 15, 20 drops. And so I would do, I started with 3 drops, and then maybe I would, do that for a week and, add more whenever I felt a comfort level at those drops that I was incorporating. So once I did 3, I graduated to 4 and 5. And then once I got to 15, 20, you know what I'm saying? I felt comfortable enough that that's good for me. I know I can do more, but for now, that's where I'm at. I'm gonna stay at between 15 and 20 drops. Now, again, this is such a powerful, stimulant. It's a blood stimulant. It stimulates the blood flow. That there is noted documentation of, people who have been given heavy doses of cayenne in the midst of having a heart attack, to where it stops the heart attack. So if we think about, what a heart attack is, it's basically constriction, of our arteries, and the blood is not getting to the heart. So if cayenne opens that up, then the blood is able to flow. And if you take a super heavy dose of that, then yeah, I can see that stopping a heart attack, So, I mean, just, me personally, if I ever am experiencing something like that, that's going to be my go-to. You know what I mean? Literally. And so we can talk about the lobelia. And the lobelia, what the lobelia is a relaxant. And it's crazy because we have two different actions here. We have a stimulant, a blood stimulant, and then we have a relaxant. And normally those would cancel each other out. However, but you notice I only put 3 drops of the lobelia into the water. So lobelia is very strong. Lobelia is like a it's a relaxant, of course. It works on the nervous system, and it also, individuals, like when they're poisoned, it's a purgative or an emetic. So it will make you vomit if you take too much of it or if you take large doses of it. And people who have been poisoned or people who OD, they actually give them lobelia in the hospitals and, different things in IVs or whatever they do. They want to purge when they want to make people purge and throw up. So, but it's such a great herb and it complements the cayenne because guess what? If we're talking about constricted vessels, and we incorporate lobelia, and lobelia is a relaxant, and it's going to relax and open up those vessels, then that cayenne is going to be able to go in and stimulate that blood and get that blood flowing. So they complement each other, even though they have opposite actions. But they're such a great pair. So for me, like I said, with having a predisposition for, heart attack, stroke, and things like that, and already have been experiencing that tingling and, the lack of blood flow, then for me, this is what I'm going to stick to. This is the regimen that I have been sticking to. So, again, the 15 drops of, that I've graduated to, the 15 drops of the cayenne and the 3 of lobelia. That's just going to be, and it is my regimen. So when we think about, I guess I'm back to those 3 individuals who purchased the tincture on site. All I can think about is that, we are caught up so much in this do everything fast type of environment. Right now, people are like just, scrolling. Everybody, people want healing. And I get that. There are individuals, we all have things going on with us or whatever have you. But we also have to understand and understand that we did not get here overnight. These things didn't occur overnight. We contributed to the conditions that we may find ourselves in. And so when we get on these platforms and we start scrolling, and we're seeing so much information, this person's doing this and they're using this and they're, all of this, it's just TMI. And for me, you guys know, I am not a huge and heavy social media person, but it's just like, when I suggest detoxing or cleansing to some of my clients, or fasting, I tell them all the time, that includes these platforms. You got to fast and detox from this mindless scrolling and this, everyone wanting to just heal and get information or whatever. And I'm speaking on the healing aspect just because that's what I'm into, helping individuals on their healing journey. So those that are on these platforms looking for that information, and then they're getting so many different avenues. Oh, I did this and take this and and they're just using everything. They're just doing it. And they're not really taking the time to, really, really understand what they're doing, what they're incorporating. They're not even paying. They just want healed. And I get that. But again, it's going to take time. My suggestion is, find you someone that resonates with you or did you resonate with, and whoever it is, whatever it is, and if you resonate with this individual's information and what they have to offer, then stick with them. You know what I'm saying? You got to kind of tune out and see what works for you. You know what I'm saying? Everyone's body is different. What works for this person may not work for that person. But one thing I will tell you, the herbs are consistent. The herbs are going to do what they do regardless. You understand? Whether or not it come from me, whether it come from, Joe Schmo over here or whoever, the herbs are consistent, and that's what's going to be consistent. Now there's something to be said about quality herbs or whatever, but one thing's for sure: when you take them consistently, you're going to get a result. You're going to get a desired result if you are consistent about taking them, and if you are knowledgeable about what you're doing. So, I say all that to say is that, we have to be more mindful about what we're doing and how we're doing it and who we're listening to. Everyone's information is not, what I'm saying, always, I guess, coming from a genuine place, if that makes sense. Some people are out just to make the money, and that can hurt people, and you may find people that are, just up there and saying that, here, take this. But these, many of these people, I will say, are not living this way. You know what I'm saying? People are doing things and giving information just based off of trying to get a dollar, and there are some actual, real thorough, what I'm saying, herbalists and individuals out there with information that are living this lifestyle. What I'm saying? Like I said, this is my life. This is my life. I will incorporate herbs and home remedies and natural remedies, till the day I leave this realm. And that's what it's been for 20 plus years. I do not claim to be the foremost expert in any of this, but I know what works for me, and I know that this is how I live. I am always in here, mixing something up, using something, reading, studying, trying things out. You know what I mean? And so that's just what it is. I brought my children up this way, and so it's just a lifestyle for me. It's not a fad. If you look at any of my posts, that hashtag lifestyle not a fad is on it. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what it is for me. So when I say that, I'm doing this and I'm doing this for my health benefits, and I know what it's done for me, then that's what it is, and I have suggested it to many of my clients because, again, when we get into the iridology and we get into brown-eyed individuals, which most of us melanated individuals are, we have predispositions. And one of those predispositions is thick blood. It's thick blood, digestive issues, all of these things that, can potentially put us in a position to where, we can have heart attacks, we can have strokes, the high blood pressure, things of that nature. So what has worked for me and, personally, and what I've physically seen and felt a difference with was incorporating, this African bird pepper, this cayenne, this capsicum, you know what I'm saying? So, and then now introducing the lobelia with it, it just kind of makes it a powerful duo. So again, I just wanted to, remind individuals that, be careful of, just trying to find any remedy to your ailments. I know we want to heal, and there are individuals out there who are really in need of healing. And so they're willing to do anything and, to get that result. But you got to pay attention to what you're doing. You got to read things, you got to study things, study your ailment, whatever you're dealing with. You should be the foremost expert in that, and as far as what you're going through. Like, any herbalist, naturopath, or whatever shouldn't be telling you what high blood pressure is or what, sugar diabetes is, blood sugar. You should already know because you're dealing with it. And if I'm dealing with something, you better know I'm going to study up on it. I'm going to find out what's what. I'm not just going to get on social media or any of these platforms and hear somebody say something about, XYZ ailment and just take whatever without knowing what's going on with me personally. So, but that's just me, you know what I'm saying? That's how I do things. I love studying the information behind all of this, all of these herbs, you know what I'm saying? Different things. So, and incorporating it into my life as best as I can. So, those that deal with me, those that, know me, those that have been a client of mine, understand and know how I operate. And, they know that everything that I do and everything that I, suggest to them is coming from a genuine place, as well as the knowledge that I have. You know what I'm saying? Again, I'm not sitting here saying I know it all, and know everything, but I will study it before I even suggest it to anyone, and I will study with you. You know what I'm saying? I encourage my clients to do the studies. Let's talk about it. What did you find out? What did you discover about what's going on with you? You know what I'm saying? Because you should know. You know what I mean? So, but that's it. Yeah, I thought I wanted to get on here and let you guys know that, yes, definitely, this is a powerful tincture. Cayenne in general is very, very powerful. It's a powerful blood stimulant, and it will clean you out. It will clear you out. It will have you bring your mucus up. It will open you up. It will warm you up, and again, that's just, part of its attributes. As far as I'm concerned, those are attributes. But know what you're getting into, study, read, and don't just mindlessly take things just because, someone's, doing it on social media or suggested that you put this concoction together, because you have to know what's going on with you first and foremost, especially if you're on any type of Western medications. There are definitely contraindications to some of the herbs, with the Western medicine. So you have to know, study, read, understand your situation, know what's going on with you. So that's it, guys. I just kind of wanted to give you that. But again, yeah, it's a lifestyle, not a fad for me. So, and you just saw me take 15 drops of this Cayenne, and that's where I'm at. So anyone who has some of this, or anyone who knows, or, has taken any, and you're at, 1, 2, 3 drops, then you know what 15 can potentially feel like. So, but it's all good. So you guys have a great day. Stay healthy, stay educated, study, detox from some of the social media. It's a lot going on in the world, and sometimes we just gotta tune out and get into self. And, you always dip your toe back in, keep abreast of what's going on, keep your finger on the pulse of the world. But some of us need to come off this social media because it's doing a lot more harm than good, especially when you're dealing with your health and you're looking for answers to, to issues that you may be having health-wise. So stop, take a deep breath, take a step backwards, understand what's going on with you first and foremost. Study up on what is ailing you first and foremost before you just start taking any remedies that someone's suggesting or you're seeing on, some of these platforms. So that's it, guys. Have a great day. Ashe.